Hi there, my name is Michael Vick, and today I'm doing a presentation on technology in education. Specifically, what I really want to know is why is education so slow to adjust to a fast-changing, technologically advanced world? There are lots of industries: architecture, engineering, tourism, medical, retail, and then computer science. All of these industries and many, many more are changing at the rapid pace that technology demands. But education is not, kind of stuck in the industrial age as it's known. They're not using technology, and they're definitely not keeping up with the times with technology the way these other industries are. And I want to know why. And in discovering who is why, we need to find out who is to blame. Is it teachers? Are their teachers' perceptions and beliefs just incorrect and stuck in an old age? Or is it not necessarily the teacher's fault, but the people who taught the teachers how to teach? Those universities and colleges, when they were getting their education degrees, should they have done it differently? Is it school districts? Most people at the head of school districts are a little bit older, and they were taught a certain way, and that's just not the new age way of teaching. And it could also be administrators. Are administrators not opening up to the possibilities of technology in the classroom? And it's really hard for parents, I think, sometimes to understand that their kids can be taught differently and learn better, more effectively, more efficiently using technology. And really, the technology itself needs to be learned. And that's hard for parents to understand. And then school boards, a very similar sentiment as parents. People who serve on school boards, they believe in education the way they were educated, and they don't think change is necessary. And then the other possibility would be lack of resources. It's expensive to purchase all the most up-to-date technology and to stay current with it. It continues to be expensive to maintain it. And that could be a question as well as the possibility for blame. So what does the literature say? Very similar to what I just talked about as far as the blame game. The literature is really all over the place. There are teachers that have problems getting resources for integrated communication technology resources. It could be the teachers themselves, the lack of willingness to know how. Or it could be broader. It could be an infrastructural or a curricular issue. Or it could be just teachers not understanding that a student-centered technology-enhanced classroom is the future. It's the current and the future. Or it could just be a whole paradigm shift, a change in mental models and mindsets. The current education philosophy prepares people for what used to be success, but now it's not. We need to hire problem solvers. And Duffy talks about it being a full paradigm shift that is needed. And he is not alone. There's a famous educator and speaker named Sir Ken Robinson who talks about the matter. Let's listen to what he has to say.
A revolution in education. This has to be transformed into something else. One of the real challenges is to innovate fundamentally in education. Innovation is hard because it means doing something that people don't find very easy for the most part. It means challenging what we take for granted, things that we think are obvious. The great problem for reform or transformation is the tyranny of common sense. Things that people think, well, they can't be done any other way because that's the way it's.
So he talks about it being a transformation or a revolution. In fact, that is a very long speech, and if you have time, it's in my resources here at the end to go check out that whole speech. It really talks a lot about how school districts, or really schools in general, need a whole paradigm shift, a change, a transformation, as he said. And that brings me to my possible solutions. First, we have our long-term solutions. We need to be thinking about how higher education can change. It requires a paradigm shift, and a new age education degree is one possibility. So instead of just getting an education degree, you get what's called a new age education degree. And that just signifies that you understand that this is a new age of teaching, a new age of education. Another possibility would be kind of a lesser step. You could get a specialization in something called 21st century skills. Those are the skills needed for the future. Like, it includes using technology and collaborating effectively, communicating in different, through a computer, through an iPad, or through lots of different devices. So you can get a specialization now in things called special education or English as a second language. Well, why can't you get a specialization in something called 21st century skills? It would signify to the campuses that you're applying for as a teacher that you are ready to take that next step in education for the revolution, if you will. And then I think the last step has to do with accountability. It's important for you to give positive feedbacks for those teachers that are teaching in the new age, and to give negative feedback for those kind of stuck in the industrial age of teaching. Let them know that this is not helping your kids be successful in the future. But before those long-term solutions can be realized, we need to first look at some stuff that we can do in the immediate future. And comes down to professional development. Real professional developments that are being maintained and the teachers being held accountable for what is being taught. And not just professional development for the teachers, because it has to go beyond that. We have to reach those administrators and superintendents and school boards and parents. Everybody needs to understand that this is different. This is a different world that we're sending our kids into that they need to be prepared for. But ultimately, I think it really comes down to what Sir Ken Robinson talked about and what Duffy talked about and what so many of the other articles that I read in the literature talk about. And that's a full paradigm shift. I think that's the biggest thing that needs to happen here, is that it needs to be just a change in what education is. Education shouldn't be about learning math, English, science, and social studies and then some electives. It should be learning about how to better yourself in this new age world where everything is changing so fast and so much stuff is cross-curricular. That word cross-curricular in itself shows that there are multiple curriculums, and there are, but they are more together than what we give them credit for currently in the education system. And I think that needs to change. We need to see a revolution. It needs to be a paradigm shift. And that's my presentation for you. Here are my resources. One in particular, that third one down, Duffy, was very integral in my research and coming up with some conclusions and solutions. And then that speech you heard is on the next page, Sir Ken Robinson. If you get a chance, it's a really good listen. Highly recommend it for any teachers out there, or just anybody interested in the subject. Again, this is Michael Vick. Thank you for listening to my presentation on technology in the classroom.